Have you noticed that every several years there's another popular tool that emerges dealing with personality types? Well, I've watched these sort of come and go. Way back, it was the DISC, D-I-S-C, a quadrant. If you took the test, you could sort of figure out if you were dominant, introvert, highly structured, conformer. And the Myers-Briggs, of course, was very popular, still is used quite a bit. In recent times, the Enneagram, which goes way, way back, has 9 personality traits. And people are pretty enthused about it, use it quite a bit. What I've found about these things is they are great tools for creating a discussion about our personalities. The problem is personality traits are not germane to spiritual development. Character is. And these tools, as good as they are, they don't seem to really get at the issue of character. Character is linked with psychological health, with mental health, with spiritual maturity. There's a parable that Jesus gave in Mark 4, referred to as the parable of the sower, the soil, and the seed. It's a 4-quadrant parable. There's the soil that is so hard that when the truth hits it, the seed, a bird can come along and pluck it away. The bird representing some kind of a threat. And then there's the soil that has rocks in it. The truth may sink in a bit, start to take hold, but the rocks are really character flaws. And the rocks, the character flaws, get in the way of a person doing much of anything with the truth on an ongoing basis. The rocks prevent character development, character maturity. And then there's the matter of the weeds that grow up. And weeds are generally of 2 types. Psychologically, they're painkillers, and sometimes physiologically, or they're pleasure fillers. Painkillers and pleasure fillers. And these 3 types of soil don't represent 3 different types of persons as much as they represent each of us has all 3 types of structures in our psyche, in our soul. We have emotional hardpack that is developed because early in life we developed fears, and 2 primary ones: the fear that we're not loved unconditionally and the fear that we don't amount to much. We have a lot of shame. The second issue that we have is we lack character, strong character, the foundation of which is humility. And this is spelled out in the Beatitudes, where Jesus talks about 8 character traits. These rocks, these character flaws must be dealt with. And it doesn't matter what our personality is. If we have character flaws, they must be dealt with if we're going to grow. And finally, each of us resorts to various tactics and strategies to avoid pain and to experience some measure of pleasure. One of my ways of avoiding the pain of being a nothing that I sort of felt about myself was that I would do various religious activities, and I was engaging with it in them to a fairly significant degree, because I gained some recognition from people for my whatever I had developed, whatever expertise I had developed, speaking, singing, knowledge of the Bible, and so on. And it was a painkiller. And so these 3 types of soil I have to deal with in my life. And when I deal with them, what happens is I develop more and more good soil. Now, the interesting thing about the soil is that it's good. The soil is good. But soil that has not been worked over to be free of emotional wounds, character flaws, and substitutes for real spirituality, that soil remains in an underdeveloped state. And it takes spiritual disciplines and being a part of a community where honesty is the norm. People are honest about the soil that they have in their life and the contaminants to that soil. Jesus said to his disciples, because they didn't get it at first. In fact, it took them a while. Long after he was gone, they were still wrestling with the soil in their own lives that was contaminated. He said to his disciples, if you don't get this parable, how will you understand any of the parables that I teach? He taught 45 more that we know of. And all of the 46 parables, this one found in Mark 4, it's actually found in the other two, in Matthew and Luke as well. This parable is a key to unlocking the meaning of all the other parables. If you can dig into this parable and figure it out and figure out how it applies to your life in very specific ways and what steps you need to take to begin to clean up your soul soil, the other parables will become very meaningful, powerful, and usable in your life.